everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing well. Today we have something extremely important to discuss, and it's all about a major warning for the third week of February 2025. If you're someone who follows astrology, or even if you're just curious about the energies around you, then this video is definitely for you. This is not your average astrological forecast. What we're dealing with here is a moon-related event, one that could bring about some very significant shifts and changes. So you'll want to hear all about it and understand how it could impact your life, relationships, work, and overall well-being. So let's dive into it. Grab a cup of tea or coffee, get comfortable, and let's talk about the major warning regarding the moon during the third week of February 2025. Now, before we get into the specifics of this warning, let's take a quick moment to talk about the moon's influence in astrology. The moon controls our emotions, our intuition, and our subconscious. It governs cycles of change and transformation, and its phases can deeply affect our moods and behavior. When we talk about the moon, we're talking about more than just the lunar cycle. We're talking about how its gravitational pull affects not just the oceans and tides, but how it can influence all of us on a much more personal level. It's important to realize that the moon's phases often work in subtle ways, and when significant planetary alignments or eclipses occur, its impact can be profound. This is exactly what we're seeing in the third week of February 2025. Something powerful is brewing with the moon. You've likely already felt the buildup or shifts in energy as we move closer to this event. And trust me, it's something you won't want to ignore. During this week, we will see the moon entering a particularly intense phase, bringing with it major transformations in how we feel, perceive things, and react to the world around us. But here's the kicker. This isn't just any regular moon phase. We're talking about a time when emotions can get out of control, when miscommunications could arise, and when uncertainty will reign. We'll start to feel the effects as early as the beginning of the third week. At first, things may seem relatively calm. You might find that things feel a bit out of balance, but you might not fully understand why. This could lead to some frustration or even confusion about what's going on around you. The full force of this lunar energy will hit its peak, and by midweek, there will be a definite emotional surge. You might experience moments where you're questioning your purpose or your choices. Relationships, whether romantic, familial, or professional, could feel strained as miscommunications and misunderstandings pile up. This is the time when small issues can escalate if we're not careful. When the moon hits this phase, it's like being on an emotional roller coaster. One minute you're feeling motivated and inspired, and the next you could be bogged down by doubts and uncertainty. These shifts could be unsettling, and it's easy to become overwhelmed by them. But what's even more dangerous is the fear of the unknown that tends to surface during such times. This week, many of us may feel like we're walking through fog, unable to see clearly and unsure about the next steps we should take. In relationships, the desire for validation and reassurance could be high, but the moon's influence may leave us feeling emotionally vulnerable. If you're someone who struggles with anxiety or overthinking, this energy could be especially challenging. Deep-seated fears may rise to the surface, and you might find it harder to maintain your inner peace. It's going to feel like a constant tug of war between your head and your heart. This is where the major warning comes into play. With the moon's influence heightened, it's important to avoid making rash decisions. Whether it's in your personal life, career, or finances, the third week of February is not the time to make life-altering choices without taking a step back and reflecting on your emotions. If you're planning to start something new, whether it's a business venture or a new relationship, this could be a period of instability. Things may not be as they seem, and the clarity you're hoping for may be just out of reach. Pause, breathe, reflect. You don't have to make any big decisions right now. Allow yourself the space to let these emotions settle before acting on them. So how do we navigate this intense lunar energy and avoid falling into the trap of emotional chaos? First of all, stay grounded. It's incredibly important during this time to take extra care of your mental health. Practice mindfulness, meditation, or any other techniques that help you stay present and aware of your emotional state. When you feel the tension rising, take a step back. Don't engage in arguments or make major decisions based on temporary emotions. The moon's energy can feel like a pressure cooker, but if you give yourself the time to cool off, You can avoid unnecessary conflicts and mistakes. The third week of February 2025 is going to be an emotionally intense time with the moon holding a powerful influence over all of us. If you're feeling overwhelmed or unsure, don't panic. It's simply the energy of the moon pushing us to confront deep feelings, face uncertainties, and make necessary changes. But it's also a time where we need to be extra cautious not to make rash decisions, as the emotional waves could cloud our judgment. The moon's influence is a profound force that affects not only the physical realm, but also the emotional and spiritual energies of those tuned into its rhythms. As we enter the third week of February 2025, there are significant astrological alignments and energetic shifts involving the moon that signal a time of caution and reflection. This period will bring with it a powerful warning, urging individuals to navigate their lives with mindfulness and awareness, especially when it comes to matters of emotion, communication, and personal growth. During this week, the moon will be in various phases, including the waxing gibbous and culminating in the full moon. As the light of the moon gradually increases, so too will the energy of transformation and manifestation. However, this increase in energy comes with a warning. The full moon at this time is particularly intense. The full moon serves as a culmination, a peak of lunar power, where emotions are heightened and decisions can become clouded by impulsivity. It is not a time to rush into anything without carefully considering the consequences of your actions. People may find themselves feeling more sensitive or reactive as the moon amplifies emotional currents. What could seem like a minor issue in the light of day could suddenly feel overwhelming under the moon's rays. There could be an increased tendency toward misunderstandings, especially in communication. The need to pause before reacting or speaking is especially important during this period. Misunderstandings or miscommunications that occur during the third week of February may have long-lasting repercussions, so it is wise to choose your words carefully and take a step back when you feel triggered. This warning is particularly relevant in the realms of personal relationships. There is a strong possibility of conflicts arising, not due to external factors, but because of the internal emotional buildup that may go unexpressed or misinterpreted. The moon's energy encourages deep introspection, but also the release of pent-up emotions. The challenge will be in finding a balance between allowing yourself the space to process your feelings and not allowing those feelings to erupt in ways that harm your connections with others. This can be a time of deep healing, provided the necessary care is taken not to project unresolved emotions onto others. In the realm of personal growth, this week calls for caution. The third week of February is a time to reflect on past actions and intentions. What have you been working on, and where do you stand with your goals? Now is not the time to launch new projects or take on new ventures without careful consideration. The energy is not conducive to starting fresh, but rather to reviewing and refining what you have already put into motion. Those who push ahead without recalibrating their goals or intentions may encounter unnecessary setbacks or delays. The full moon's illumination will also bring to the surface hidden truths. There may be revelations or insights that come unexpectedly, particularly related to past events or unresolved issues. The moon's light shines brightly on what has been obscured, and it might be an unsettling experience to face the things that have been hidden in the shadows. However, facing these truths is necessary for personal growth and for clearing the path forward. While it may feel like a challenging time, the potential for positive change lies in the ability to confront what has been avoided. Financial matters could also come into sharper focus this week as the moon's influence extends to the material world. However, the warning here is to avoid impulsive spending or making financial decisions based solely on fleeting emotions. Emotional drives during this time could lead to financial missteps, so take extra caution when it comes to money matters. If possible, postpone major financial decisions or investments until the energy of the full moon has passed and clarity has returned. On a spiritual level, the warning for this week revolves around the balance between light and dark within oneself. The moon's cycle invites us to confront our inner shadows, the parts of ourselves that we often shy away from acknowledging. These shadows may manifest in the form of unresolved fears, doubts, or old wounds. Rather than avoiding these aspects, this week calls for self-compassion and a willingness to face them head-on. The lessons of the moon are often wrapped in discomfort, but by walking through that discomfort, we move toward greater wholeness. As the week progresses, the influence of the moon's energy will not fade quickly, and you may find that its effects linger well into the days following the full moon. It's crucial to keep in mind that this period is not about rushing through emotional or mental processing. The moon beckons us to take our time, to be patient with the unfolding of situations, and to resist the urge to force outcomes before the right moment arrives. Time has a unique role to play under the full moon, and though it may seem like the world is pressing forward at a faster pace, your personal journey requires slowing down. In relationships, you may find that the full moon illuminates areas that were previously unspoken or misunderstood. It's important to approach conversations with empathy and an open heart, but also with a level of detachment that allows you to view things from a higher perspective. There may be a tendency to become caught up in emotional reactions, but the key here is to not take things too personally. Under the moon's influence, people are likely to act from a place of deep internal tension or confusion, and their words or actions might not fully reflect their true feelings. It's crucial to engage with others not out of defensiveness or emotion, but with a compassionate understanding of the ebb and flow of human experience. The moon's major warning this week is also a cautionary one when it comes to your personal boundaries. As emotions run high, the tendency to blur boundaries with others becomes more pronounced. Whether it's giving too much of yourself or allowing others to overstep your personal space, there is a strong invitation this week to reestablish clear boundaries and protect your emotional well-being. Take time to assess whether you are maintaining a healthy distance from situations or people that drain you. The moon's light will reveal where boundaries may have weakened, so use this time to reinforce them in a way that feels respectful to yourself and others. Moreover, this week calls for reflection on your past patterns. The third week of February presents an opportunity to look back at how you have responded to similar situations in the past, especially in terms of emotional triggers. Are you falling into old habits? Do you find that unresolved conflicts from the past keep resurfacing? The moon's energy magnifies the past, allowing us to clearly see where old wounds have not been healed. However, it's important to remember that these reflections are not meant to stir up negative feelings, but to bring about awareness. The goal is to understand these patterns and, through that understanding, begin to let go of any lingering emotional baggage. The awareness and self-reflection that arise this week will lay the foundation for healthier emotional patterns moving forward. Financial matters, as mentioned before, will need to be approached with great care. The moon's influence can cause emotional impulses to cloud judgment, and in turn may lead to poor financial choices. If you've been feeling the urge to make significant investments, whether in relationships, business ventures, or material goods, ask yourself if these decisions are coming from a place of genuine need or emotional escapism. The moon's light illuminates desires that are often hidden under layers of anxiety or stress. So take a step back to ensure that your financial choices are not being motivated by fleeting emotional states. Spiritually, the full moon will guide you to confront deeper layers of your inner world. It will encourage you to ask yourself, what part of me needs healing? What part of my past have I not fully reconciled? Now is the time to engage in inner work that allows you to uncover the wounds that are ready to be healed. Whether through meditation, journaling, or simply quiet reflection, this week is about creating the space to listen to your inner voice and trust the wisdom that it offers. Your spiritual growth will be accelerated if you embrace this period as one of self-discovery, emotional release, and healing. The moon is not just a passive force, it's an invitation for you to become more in tune with your own rhythms. It invites you to connect with the cycles of nature, and in doing so, to honor your own natural rhythms, which may not always align with the fast-paced, go-go-go world around you. Under the full moon's glow, you may realize how often you've pushed yourself past your limits. This week, listen closely to your body and mind, acknowledging when it's time to step back, breathe, and simply be. In fact, there's power in stillness. By honoring the pauses in your life, you give yourself the opportunity to observe, heal, and grow in a way that constant motion does not allow. As the moon gradually wanes after the full moon, the energy will begin to shift, but the lessons learned during this intense period will continue to echo. The third week of February 2025 will not be one of dramatic change, but rather of deep emotional work that will set the stage for more conscious growth in the months to come. By heeding the warning of the moon, taking your time, managing your emotions, clarifying your boundaries, and giving space for healing, you set the groundwork for a more harmonious and fulfilling future. The key here is not to rush, but to listen, reflect, and act with care, knowing that every step taken under the moon's watchful eye will carry weight for your future. As the days pass, the influence of the moon's energy will start to subtly shift, but don't expect all things to clear up immediately. The post-full moon phase is often one of letting go, releasing, and moving forward, but this doesn't happen in a linear fashion. It's important to recognize that, although the intensity might seem to lessen, the emotional lessons are still deeply embedded. This is why the third week of February will not be one to gloss over. It's about laying the groundwork for lasting transformation, even if the process feels slow and at times uncertain. There may be moments of quiet reflection when the weight of past decisions, relationships, or emotions feels heavier than expected. But in these moments, don't be tempted to retreat into old coping mechanisms. The moon's energy encourages you to face these moments head-on, knowing that the uncomfortable emotions are simply temporary visitors. They are calling for acknowledgement, not avoidance. If you take the time to sit with these feelings, you'll find that they begin to dissipate with acceptance rather than resistance. It's also important to realize that the third week of February is not only a time of reflection and recalibration, but also an opportunity to strengthen your intuition. Under the full moon, there is a heightened sensitivity to the unseen energies around you, and this can manifest as a deeper connection to your inner wisdom. Trust the subtle nudges, the gut feelings, and the quiet whispers that arise. The moon's light illuminates the intuitive channels within you, urging you to listen to them more closely than you usually might. It's a time to trust that your inner knowing is guiding you toward the right decisions, even if the path doesn't seem entirely clear. The moon's energy also urges you to acknowledge the importance of self-care. With the emotional tides being so high, there's a risk of burnout if you're not careful. Whether it's through taking quiet time alone, engaging in a creative project, or simply getting outdoors to reconnect with nature, taking care of your emotional and mental health is paramount. The warning here is to avoid neglecting yourself while tending to others. Self-care during this time doesn't have to be extravagant, but it must be intentional. Your well-being is an integral part of navigating this intense week, and the moon encourages you to prioritize your own needs, even as you face the emotional storm. As the energy of the moon begins to wane, there will be moments of clarity. These moments, though fleeting, will offer insights that can feel revelatory. Perhaps an idea or solution will surface that you hadn't considered before, or an emotional breakthrough will allow you to make sense of a situation that once felt confusing. These breakthroughs are not sudden, dramatic shifts, but gentle realizations that help you feel more grounded. The energy of the waning moon asks for patience as you sift through your thoughts and emotions. It's a time to take a step back and integrate everything you've learned without rushing to act on it just yet. Additionally, the lunar influence over the third week of February calls for a reevaluation of your long-term goals and aspirations. If you have been pushing hard toward a particular direction, the moon urges you to check in with yourself. Is this the right path? Are your actions in alignment with your true desires? Sometimes we get so caught up in our goals that we forget to pause and ask whether those goals still reflect who we are at our core. The energy of this week invites you to re-examine your values and make any necessary adjustments. Trust that if you allow yourself the space to reflect, the path forward will reveal itself with more clarity and alignment. Although the moon's influence might feel like a warning to tread carefully, there's no need to fear its power. The moon is not an adversary, rather it is a guide. It asks you to slow down, to look within, and to trust the rhythm of your own journey. During this time, you are being asked to make decisions from a place of clarity rather than impulsiveness, and to engage with your emotions in a way that fosters growth rather than stifling it. The key to navigating this period successfully lies in surrendering to the flow of the moon's energy without resistance. By the end of the third week, you may not feel like everything has been resolved or that all questions have been answered. However, you will have begun a process of emotional recalibration that will serve you well in the weeks and months to come. The lessons of this week are deep and transformative, And though they may not be fully apparent yet, trust that their effects will continue to unfold. This is a time of significant personal growth, and even though the energy feels heavy at times, it is precisely this intensity that has the potential to catalyze long-lasting change. As you move forward into the final days of February, the moon will continue to influence you, but with less intensity. By now, you will have started integrating the lessons, and there will be an increased sense of clarity and peace as the fog of emotional confusion lifts. What seemed overwhelming at the beginning of the week will now appear more manageable. But remember, the guidance of the moon is a continuous cycle, one that offers opportunities for growth, release, and renewal. With the lessons learned this week, you are better equipped to approach life's challenges with greater insight, compassion, and resilience. In the weeks ahead, you will notice that the energy you cultivated during this time will stay with you. The moon's warning to approach life thoughtfully and mindfully will serve you as you continue your journey. This period was about slowing down and reevaluating, not about rushing forward. And as you continue to walk this path, you'll find that the insights gleaned from this week will be some of the most valuable lessons of all. As the third week of February fades, you may notice that the quiet shifts within yourself are beginning to take shape. The intensity of the full moon's energy, which may have felt overwhelming, will gradually give way to a more subtle, grounded influence. The emotional turbulence that you may have felt earlier in the week will settle into a more steady rhythm, allowing you to process what's occurred with more clarity and perspective. It's important to remember that this week has been about growth, albeit often under the surface. The full moon illuminated what needed attention, but the aftermath calls for you to integrate these revelations without rushing through the healing process. In the days ahead, you may find that your emotional landscape is beginning to clear. There is a natural ebb and flow to the lunar cycle, and just as the moon wanes, so too will the intensity of the emotions that may have felt overwhelming. This isn't the end of your journey. Instead, it's a crucial transition. Now is the time to start to gently move forward, but with an added sense of awareness. The lessons of the third week of February 2025 are not easily forgotten. They have left an indelible mark on your soul, and this awareness will continue to guide your actions as you step into the future. However, there's still more work to do. The moon's guidance this week reminds you that growth doesn't happen all at once. The emotional and spiritual shifts triggered by the full moon may still be unfolding over the coming weeks. The moon's energy has stirred things up, but now it's up to you to decide how to direct that newfound awareness. Will you carry these lessons forward, integrating them into your daily life? Or will you revert to old patterns that no longer serve you? The choice lies in your hands, but the work you've done in these intense days has already shifted something within you, and it would be unwise to ignore it. In your relationships, you may notice that certain dynamics have changed. Where tension once existed, there may be space for deeper understanding. Conflicts that may have seemed insurmountable could now appear less daunting, simply because you've learned to approach them from a place of heightened emotional awareness. You may find yourself being more patient, more willing to listen, and more able to communicate your feelings with clarity and compassion. The full moon's influence may have prompted you to see certain aspects of yourself and others that were previously hidden. Now, with this new awareness, you have the opportunity to rebuild or strengthen relationships based on mutual understanding. In your personal endeavors, the seeds of intention that were planted earlier in the week may begin to take root. But remember, the moon's waning phase calls for patience, not haste. The third week of February is not about rushing to see immediate results, but rather about laying the groundwork for lasting change. The shifts you have made emotionally and mentally will eventually bear fruit. But like a tree planted in the earth, they require time and nurturing to fully blossom. As you continue to process and reflect, allow yourself the space to pause and rest. The full moon can be a deeply transformative experience, but it also asks for moments of stillness and quiet contemplation. It's important to give yourself permission to take a step back from the hustle of life, to breathe, and to absorb the lessons of this week without pushing yourself too hard. The world around you may be moving quickly, but your inner pace must be one that honors your emotional and spiritual needs. Trust that by pacing yourself, you are giving the lessons you've learned the time they need to sink in deeply. Looking forward, the moon's energy will continue to influence you, though perhaps less intensely. You may find that the clarity you've gained over the past week will guide you as you make decisions and move through your life. While the emotional intensity may decrease, there will be moments when you feel that quiet pull of intuition, those subtle nudges to take a different direction, to pause or to reflect. Trust those intuitive calls. The third week of February 2025 has awakened something within you, and it's vital that you continue to listen to your inner voice. Remember that the energy of the moon is cyclical. This week may have felt heavy at times, but it's part of a larger pattern that guides you through periods of introspection, growth, and renewal. The lessons of the full moon won't be fully realized in a single week. They will unfold over time. As you move forward, hold space for the possibility that you're in the midst of a larger transformation, one that will continue to reveal itself as you step more fully into the person you are becoming. By the end of the month, you will likely feel a sense of quiet resolution. The turmoil and confusion that may have plagued you earlier in the week will give way to clarity. Decisions made under the moon's influence, especially in the emotional or relational realms, will begin to feel more aligned with your true self. The lessons learned, though difficult, will have shaped you in ways that are already beginning to manifest in your actions and choices. Take comfort in the knowledge that this transformation, though it may seem subtle now, is both necessary and empowering. You are aligning more deeply with your authentic self, and while the journey may not always be easy, it is one worth undertaking. As the lunar energy shifts away from the intensity of the full moon, it leaves you with a newfound sense of clarity and purpose, one that will continue to unfold and deepen in the weeks to come. So, as the moon wanes in the third week of February, 2025 draws to a close, carry with you the lessons, the insights, and the growth that this time has brought. Recognize that you are not the same person who entered this week. You have shed old layers, gained deeper understanding, and are now ready to step forward into the next phase of your journey with a more open heart, a more mindful approach, and an empowered spirit. Take this warning seriously. If you take a moment to step back, reflect, and let yourself process everything, you'll come out of this week feeling more grounded and clear. Just remember, the moon's influence is temporary, but the actions you take can last long after its phase has passed. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with someone who might need to hear this warning. Stay calm, stay grounded, and as always, take care of yourselves. I'll see you in the next one.